The relationship between divine influence, testing, and human faith is a nuanced subject explored by various intellectuals. John Lennox, a mathematician and philosopher of science, and Jordan Peterson, a clinical psychologist and cultural critic, offer distinct perspectives on these themes. Lennox addresses the correlation between biblical accounts and scientific understanding, while Peterson clarifies misconceptions about divine testing. This video examines their views on how divine influence and testing are perceived and their implications for understanding faith and reason.
What do you mean in that case? So what do you mean specifically that we live in a word-based universe? What does that mean for you on the broader conceptual landscape?
Well, it means that this universe is not simply a product of natural, unguided forces. It is a product of a rational creator, an intelligent creator, and I believe even more than that, a personal creator. Now, how I get there is only in part from a response to the universe as I find it, the point you made about each organism being a microcosm of its environment. It's also, it seems to me that there are two major sources of knowledge. There is, first of all, observing the universe, science, etc. Then there are the humanities. But there's also the concept of revelation, in which I believe. In other words, it's not simply the human quest for the creator, it's the creator revealing himself. So for me, the anchor point in the end is that the Logos became human and we beheld his glory. In other words, we can see exactly what this means in terms of what we can understand. That is the human being in which God encoded himself in Christ. Now, those are big ideas, of course. They're very deep ideas. They need unpacking. But that's essentially where I'm coming from.
Okay, so, all right. So let me elaborate in two directions with regards to that. So the first is that, so one of the axioms of faith that's necessary before you embark on the scientific endeavor as an individual or as a culture, which might explain why science emerged in the Judeo-Christian context and no other place, is that the universe is intrinsically intelligible. But there's another axiom too, which is that the honest investigation of that intelligibility will be good. And so there is this insistence in Genesis when God casts order out of chaos and creates the world. After each day of creation, he states explicitly, and it was good. And when he creates man, I believe he says that it is very good. And the reason for that is that not only is there an order, but that the order is, in its deepest sense, beneficial and positive. And the thing is that it's easy and even rational, it might be easy and even rational to take the Frankenstein monster view of the investigation of the world and to say, well, even if the cosmos is intelligible, that doesn't mean that our investigation into it is intrinsically good or that it would bear good fruit. Now, you have to believe that the truth will set you free in order to be a scientist, because if you believed that the truth had no bearing on human flourishing, let's say, then the whole enterprise would be pointless. And if you believed that the investigation of the complexities of material reality would lead us astray, then you'd say that that should be taboo and forbidden. But that isn't what we decided. We decided that the revealed order would be good. And then I'll add one other thing to that, which I think is also axiomatic, which is part of the Logos idea in its deepest sense is that we are required to explore, investigate, and communicate about everything as deeply as possible. So the idea, you have this idea in Job that is quite well developed, that no matter what God and the devil throw at you, you're called upon to maintain your equilibrium and your faith in the intrinsic goodness of being.
To correct a common misunderstanding, God or Jesus does not test or challenge anyone directly. For instance, in Job 1, 6-12, we read about a celestial council where Satan and God converse. God asks Satan where he has been, and Satan replies that he has been roaming the earth. God then points out Job's righteousness, saying, "Have you considered my servant Job? There is no one like him. He is an upright man, blameless, and fears God and shuns evil. Satan challenges Job's integrity, suggesting that he is faithful only because of the protection and blessings God has provided. Satan proposes that if Job were to suffer, he would surely curse God. God allows Satan to test Job's possessions, but prohibits harming Job himself. This account shows that God allows testing, but he does not directly initiate it. In contrast, James 1:13 clarifies that, when tempted, no one should say, God is tempting me, for God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he tempt anyone. This verse reinforces that while God permits testing, he himself does not actively test individuals.